Oh my god, I can't stand the vegans, is something I tended to say a lot. Especially as my sister was one of them and criticised all the meat and fish I bought. The more these people talked at me, the more I would dig my heels right in, no matter how healthy it was supposed to be, no matter that killing animals might be a sin. I used to come up with all kinds of reasons why this group should just leave me alone to enjoy my juicy, rare sirloin steak without having to listen to them moan. But after months of pepperoni pizza, during the first lockdown sadness, I could no longer ignore the weight gain and the long-suffering belly full of badness. One day, it suddenly became apparent that I really needed a different routine. So I took a long look at the habits I had and began to scrutinise my cuisine. I've said it before, I've been on every diet, but what I needed now wasn't a fad, which honestly never work anyway, and when the weight returns, I get mad. What I desired instead was better health, and regardless of where I tried to look, a whole food plant-based lifestyle kept popping up as the best way to cook. All those miserable veggies and fruits, beans, nuts, legumes and seeds were apparently what I should be eating to meet my healthy nutritional needs. But if I was going to give up all the burgers, ditching chicken wings to become meat-free, then I really needed a bit more of a push to be convinced that this was the right move for me. So I took to the podcasts and books looking for evidence that was more concrete, and unfortunately the deeper that I dug, my only reason not to was I like meat. I stumbled upon a chap called Ed Winters, who's a vegan known as Earthling Ed, and soon I had a copy of his book, devouring every single word that he said. The reasons we should all convert to veganism very soon became clear to me. I encourage you to please listen to these. After all, there really are only 3. The first one is the most obvious. It is really, really good for you. In the science, nothing else comes close. So with that, let's move on to number 2. An aside, you could be an unhealthy one, drinking Diet Coke and eating chips all the time, but that's why I always mention the whole food bit, which is an important part to underline. Anyway, the second reason is where people get touchy, as it's all about dairy and animal farming. And if you read Ed's disturbing book, you'll find our farming practices quite alarming. I'll not go into the details of where our dairy and meat products come from, although most of us have cognitive dissonance when we think what is right is clearly wrong. How can we claim to be animal lovers and fill our homes with different pets, but still endorse animal consumption till we end up with the meat sweats? These creatures are only bred for one thing, to give us their milk, eggs and flesh, which we take with inconsiderate abandon, ignorant of their enduring distress. If you think I'm being a bit unfair and going a little bit too far, tell me, when is the last time you heard of a school trip to an abattoir? These animals really do have a terrible time, because even if we're told they have a happy life, they ultimately end up inside of gas chambers, electrocuted, or at the sharp end of the knife. Look, this really is a family channel, so I hope I'm not making you upset. But if you want the full gory details, Vegan Propaganda is a book you should get. Now on to reason number 3, and this applies to absolutely everyone who shares this planet that we call Earth, the blue sphere, third one from the sun. We kill 220 million land animals every single day of the year, with fish that goes up to 6.3 billion Those numbers should give you all the fear. These quantities are truly terrifying, something that we clearly cannot sustain, especially if the human race is to survive and on this speck of rock remain. The role fish and animal farming play in climate change is very clear, so we must slow down our consumption for the sake of this planet we hold dear. There is no doubt this cannot go on, and a way to help is to have a vegan diet. I've been the world's biggest skeptic, but I'm a convert and I'd recommend you try it. I'm sure there are hundreds of reasons why eating this way is the only choice, whether for the benefit of your own well-being or to give those animals a voice. But no matter what you think of it, it's hard to ignore the growing signs. Take it from someone who has eaten enough meat for 3 lifetimes.